We had spent enough time on tailoring, trying to figure out how it worked and how to level it up. It was time to go do something else. I have been thinking about other essentials I might need for long-term survival, especially since we'd have to worry about winter at some point. So I decided to head out of town, see what we could find. I thought about how we would need to stockpile food, that we would need to find large sources of it that could last us for a long time, as well as the seeds we would need for farming. After all, we only had a few packets of tomatoes. I left town and began heading down the straight road leading out, till I came upon a crossroad. I decided to go straight. Maybe luck would be in my favor. The paved road brought me to a gravel road, which continued on, nothing really splitting off of it. I continued to travel down until I came across some warehouses in the middle of nowhere. This could have been helpful. There might be things in there we need, but we'd have to be careful. It seemed way too quiet. I hopped inside and there were crates everywhere, but no undead. I checked the first crate and it turned out it was a sack of leeks and then a sack of cabbages, but they were all rotten. Onions rotten, eggplants. All the food in here turned out to be rotten or stale. This was a huge letdown and almost a tease. You would have had to found this place in the early days of the apocalypse if you were to get any of this and make use of it. I tried the next warehouse. Maybe my luck would be better in there. Same thing. No zombies, but a ton of crates. With once again, rotten food, rotten vegetables, stuff I couldn't use, things that would kill me or make me sick. This was upsetting. I did end up finding some seeds though in the shack back there, and with the seeds in hand, we headed off. Back to town. Maybe explore some places we haven't been to yet. I did notice that me just driving around like this was drawing more of the walkers to the road. Felt like I was dodging human meat cones left and right. With me passing all these undead, a thought popped into my mind. Maybe we should go head over to the bar on 5th. It was a hotel bar, but there was a number of bourbon bottles in there that we could craft into some dangerous weapons, such as Molotovs. This could help on clearing out some of the hordes just around town and around the base. I began to pass through another rich neighborhood on the outskirts of town. This was a gated community, and I thought, what a shame. I should have set up shop here. There ain't no way the walkers could bite through a fence like that. Once leaving the neighborhood, however, we'd reached the bar. And it seemed pretty clear walkers on the outside, but I still had to act pretty quick, as the sound of my engine running would draw in more. I made my way around to the side and began to open a window. Once inside, I noticed that the bartender was still there, as well as a fellow survivor who did not make it. I put him out of his misery. And bartender Jeffrey, I'm sorry, but the same goes for you. I began searching around cabinets, looking for those bourbon bottles that I'd sipped on so many times before this pandemic, and I ended up finding some. As I began my search through, I found another thing that lifted my spirits heavily. Pickles. I was so happy I could cry, but there was no time for that. Upon searching more behind the bar, I discovered more bourbon bottles and pickles, but it seemed like the neighbors wanted in. As I slowly approached the door, they burst inside. Almost too many. I almost got bit. We were going to have to fight our way out of here. Upon dispatching the local bar patrons, I noticed that the rest of the bar was clear. I was safe for now. I headed outside to actually figure out how these Molotov cocktails worked. I never used one, so I threw it, thinking I would have had to light it first, but I lit up myself, and in turn, burned myself pretty badly. I'd have to bandage this and keep an eye on this, make sure it didn't get infected. But with all the commotion, I was drawing in the undead, and I thought of this as a perfect opportunity to see just how effective these things were against a horde. With the lighter in hand and a Molotov in the other, I began to rally up the troops, so to speak, trying to get them grouped up together so I could light them all on fire. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks so much for watching up until this point. I appreciate it heavily. If you have made it up until this point and you like what you see, please leave me a like. It helps me out a ton with the algorithm, and it gets this video out to other people who might like this content. Also, if you guys have any tips or tricks or anything like that that I would need to know for this survival, please drop it down in the comments. I read every single one of them, so I would appreciate it a ton. Thank you. I was getting a decent-sized horde. Rallying them up wasn't too hard, but there were a few close calls. This isn't the smartest idea. This is an easy way to get bit, attacked, ripped apart, but in this case, it was working. And at this point, I'd felt pretty seasoned, confident in evading the walkers. And after throwing that Molotov, the fire seemed to work pretty well. But once again, more close calls to lead. Oh, they almost got me that time. It would seem that the Molotovs would light them on fire pretty well, but it would take some time to actually kill them. I decided to get out of Dodge and let the rest of the undead turn to ash. My way back home, however, I noticed that there were some cops shambling around. I thought to myself, maybe I could take advantage of this. Maybe get another police baton as a weapon. Maybe some ammo for the guns that I have. But what I didn't think about was the burn that I had got inflicted on me, and the sleepiness I was under. My effectiveness at fighting was too low, and I got a little ahead of myself. I would have to juke around these zombies to get back inside the vehicle, which thankfully didn't take too long. I was still let down that I wasn't able to actually take anything from those officers, but there will be another day. Survival is more important. On my way back, however, I did see a firefighter crawler. I know my firefighter jacket was going out, so I took advantage of this and decided to steal his clothes. I don't think he'll mind. After all, there aren't many fires to fight much anymore. After a dangerous journey of looting around outside of town, and even in town, I'd made it back home. But once again, the neighbors shambled over to my property and would help riddle my yard with their corpses, creating fertilizer for the grass. Thought it would be better to clear them out now, so they ain't banging on my airlock door leading outside. I don't need any surprises in the middle of the night or early morning. It's already hard enough to survive in this world that we find ourselves in. So I began taking them out one by one, being as cautious as I can. Given that I'm overexerted and tired and overweight and in a bit of pain from the burn, I would have to be careful. The last thing I need is a scratch or a bite or a bleeding wound. Once the walkers were dispatched, the yard was safe again, and I could head back inside. Once inside, I'd unloaded some food that I'd found, as well as the pickles we uncovered. I would save those for a healthy snack later. I love me some pickles. We also took this time to unload our seeds. We'd gotten cabbage seeds, strawberry seeds, and tomato seeds. These would help us for long term. The channels had stopped. The teaching had stopped. The news was gone. I was alone now, but we would survive. We would have to survive.